This is F.D. Recovery, where we interview addicts and alcoholics.
Our aim is that through this podcast, we might help you on your journey of recovery.
Thank you for listening.
Hello, this is Frank with F.D. Recovery, and it is August 18th, 2026, and this is the weekly intention. We pick a spiritual principle and or topic, and we talk about it in our daily lives and work on it in the week, so on and so forth, right? All right, how you guys doing? Another week to start off. It's Tuesday, so a little bit late on the start. Hold on, let me fix a couple. There we go. The week was kind of smooth. Everything went pretty well. I mean, as far as things go, right? There's always the stressors and things like that. Well, work was kind of stressful, right? I got some weird news. A lot of not drama at work, but I can't really say much because it's legal and stuff like that. But just a whole lot of headaches, right? So I'll be very sorry for the vagueness, but just a headache. But nothing that anything that we really have control over. So, but last week's topic is that we worked on was flow state, right? Had to work hard to stay in that flow state. And this week we're going to work on appreciation, right? Very similar to gratitude, but appreciation. But let's do a recap on how flow state worked in our week. Thing about flow state is you don't really think about it too much. You just kind of go with the flow, right? Your higher power, your higher calling, your purpose. That's what I like to intertwine it with, right? We can get pretty fancy with words and meanings and verbiage, but sometimes when you're just dealing with the flow of life, it's just cool to kind of merge with it. Less thought, more do, more feeling, more vibing, feel your emotions, feel your breath. Just getting back to that inner peace state where you're just like, whoa, I'm connected, right? That whole connection piece is so important with flow state. And talking with the guys in rehab and getting their perspective and just fine tuning yourself, getting rid of the gunk, right? That just makes so much for a better living situation, better experience overall, helps you connect to your higher power, and you're just kind of dialed in, right? In the zone. And we talk about getting into recovery and learning a lot about yourself and just doing really cool shit, right? And especially if you string together some time, you end up even surprising yourself at the things that you're capable of, right? And falling back into that conversation of flow state, it's just interesting that once you start fine-tuning your instrument, which is your brain, right, and you fine-tune it with the rest of your body, and then you fine-tune it spiritually, you start realizing that this is like one unit floating through all existence, right? Like for me, it's like, man, I'm just kind of floating through this all and just like connecting with people and having conversations. Before it was much different, right? It was all thought life and don't get me wrong, there's still an aspect of that, but there was a lot less connection and more overthinking, more nerves, more, and don't get me wrong, that's still part of life, right? The nerves and all that, that's a real important guidance system, right? It helps you learn about yourself. So not all that discomfort is bad. It's important that when you start feeling that, it's your body's signaling system to kind of make you pay attention to that. And if you're on the same path as most of us are that are listening to this, we're kind of on a journey to discover things about ourselves. You just gotta have to get, you gotta get a little bit curious. Get a little bit more curious about those things that make you tick, and you'd be surprised about the things that you uncover, right? Because, hey, man, who the fuck knows, right? We don't know where this all goes. We don't know what happens when we die. Some claim they do, but we don't know. So the here and now, getting connected to life, your loved ones, your own brain, your own body, learning to connect with that and fine tune with it is very important, right? You obviously don't want to live in a materialistic world, but you can't have it's the meaning of duality, like, or getting intact with the dualities of life, and understanding that it's not just one black and white thing. There's a multitude of things going on in your existence, and once you could kind of expand with that and that information, and just try to use it to allow yourself to grow, is just so important, right? When we talk about this grand flow state, we're not talking about this egotistical I'm a badass motherfucker dialed in, right? That happens naturally when you're yourself, when you're your authentic self, and you're in that flow state. You're there. You're dialed in, right? That stuff. That's the byproduct of it all. When we start having to, be bombastic and all this shit, that's just, I from my experience, it can get in the way, and we can easily see why, right? So, from my experience, coming forth with a humble heart, as humble as possible. Don't get me wrong, you need some sort of arrogance to believe in yourself, or some sort of, I guess arrogance isn't the right word, but some sort of ignorance to believe in yourself, and push yourself to, like, imagine not doing something. You have no clue how to do it, so you have to have some faith in self, right? And that's like believing in something without seeing it, right? So you have to get to a point where you like have just enough in you to like believe you can do something you never done, and right, and that's when that faith piece comes in, and you're just like, well, I've never done it, I got no history to prove I did it, so I have every reason to doubt, but I'm going to step forward and do it anyways, right? And then you can start trusting in God and the world of your higher self and your higher connection, right? Your higher power, and you start getting into that realm, and you'll be like, oh man, I'm kind of living life right now, and something that was very far away from me. It was very foreign. I lived life as if it was a manipulation tactic, and breaking the strings to that old puppetry. Like, you're gonna get puppeted by something. Let's just be honest. There's so many influences. There's so much things going on, from social media to the instant connected to world. We're really only bio, our biology is only really hardwired to know like 50 people, or can't remember what the number is, but we're not meant to know thousands of people, right? 4,000 friends on Facebook. We're not hardwired to worry about that many people at one time, because, you know, that's a fairly new thing with this technology. And as we gain technology, we don't necessarily grow with technology. So the database of our instinctual parts of us is very tribal and small. So getting into this new reality where we're like connecting to thousands of people all at once, or all the information all at once, right? Our sensory mind isn't really ready for that, right? Or even like the caring aspect. We're not really meant to care for that many people all at once, right? We're meant to care for our immediate family, and a little bit, second cousins, and the small little village we live in, or the town. Like, we're not really built to be like instantly connected to the world and seeing all this tragic stuff in this world going on all at once. Right? We're not meant to binge it like we have been over the years, especially since the internet came along. So, when we're talking about flow state, there's a lot of things that can throw us off of the flow state. And I just mentioned a lot of them in there, right? So what I like to try to do is just get it back to the basics, back to the core, start worrying about my family, start worrying about the people closest to me, and then work my way out, right? Because when I just start taking on the whole world at once, first off, it's not my responsibility. I'm not God, or I'm not whatever controls this fucking sideshow, right? So put that aside, right? I don't own anybody or anything, and I'm not responsible for anyone or anything except for me. And maybe my kids too, right? But so the reality is, like, let's bring it back to the basics, bring it back to the controllables within you, your own decisions, your own habits, your own behaviors, right? Because every behavior and every action is a portal into a new timeline of your life. So please, guys, be very careful about what you do in your life, who you let in, who you let out, how you behave, because like I said, it can portal you right into a timeline that you don't fucking like, and it'll be a timeline of your own making, right? My brother's dealing with that right now, and he's struggling, and he's reflecting it on the world, but really it's him that he's mad at. He's trying to pretend it's other people, but really it's our own choices that get us where we're at, right? There's unfortunate things that happen, and there's things that happen to us, right? But when it comes down to it, we're the deciding factor of how we move forward, and that's the point of, like, I can't convince somebody that something horrible happened to them and that well, it's for your own good. No, right? Like, that's the person and their experience, and it sucked, but it is very important to understand that they have control of that reality and how they step forward. If they want to be a victim, then that's totally their choice. And we live in a reality where everybody, like, kind of pat you on the back for victim mode, like, oh yeah, you should be a victim, oh, right? And who am I to say that somebody going through something horrible doesn't have the right to stay in that for as long as they need? But for me, like, my experience, I can only speak kind of anecdotal, and it's like, from my experience, like, it doesn't really help me, right? Maybe that's just my experience and nobody else's, and that's totally fine, and that's why I say anecdotal, right? And I'm probably saying that word wrong, and I'm probably using it in the wrong context. But oh well, we proceed, right? We're gonna move on from flowy state, from the frickin' flow state, and we're going to start with appreciation, right? Let's see what the basic common knowledge of appreciation is. It is appreciation, recognition, and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something, right? It says gratitude. They would be the first to show appreciation, right? It's also used in turn of gratitude, a place of writing in which the qualities of a person or the person's work are discussed, and appreciation, blah blah blah. Fully understand of blah blah blah. But we're focusing more on the recognition, right? And then I asked myself a simple question. I'm like, okay, well, shoot, isn't it just gratitude? Because we've done gratitude here on the podcast, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I plugged it in a little bit with some AI action, and gratitude, right? Gratitude, or appreciation versus gratitude. Gratitude is a heartfelt reaction in receiving a gift, help, or a fortunate event for someone else, right? Appreciation is the active recognition and deep enjoyment of the good qualities in a person, thing, present moment, even without external exchange, right? Oh, right. Gratitude, right? That's a pretty crazy breakdown, right? Appreciation is the active recognition and deep enjoyment of the good qualities in a person, thing, or present moment, even without external exchange, right? So something kind of within yourself, right? It sounds like appreciation is a little bit deeper, right? They're kind of interchangeable, but gratitude is felt reaction to receiving gifts, help, so it sounds like true gratitude is kind of experienced with something else or someone else, and appreciation is more of that same feeling kind of cultivated on its own in a sense, but they're still kind of very closely tied. Okay. Key differences. Focus. Gratitude tied to, oh yeah, there it goes. I should have just read it instead of starting trying to make up my own crap. tied to receiving help, avoiding a negative outcome, or counting blessings. Let's read that again. Gratitude, tied to receiving help, avoiding a negative attitude or attitude outcome, or counting blessings. I don't really dig that part really that much, maybe because I butchered it. So an appreciation that goes focus on noticing values, intrinsic worth of our present. Sorry. Right. So appreciation, man, it's so freaking important. So cultivating appreciation within your heart. I mean, how is it done? Right. Cultivating appreciation. Like, what? I mean, where do you start? You know, we talk about these gratitude lists early on and rewiring the brain and doing all this fancy shit. And it serves its purpose and it's very good to do. And I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing it. But when you get a little bit of clean time and you do a little bit of work, you start looking at the ugly stuff inside yourself, right? And you start releasing it, right? So what happens when you release things, right? You let it go. It's no longer necessarily a part of you, right? It's entered your energy body, and if you've done the right work, then you've fully released it. It'll always be a part of your memory, right? But when you fully release it, it won't have that same trigger, reactive, nuclear kind of disposition that things would take inside my being. If, like, for me, like, certain situations with people, places, or a certain scenario that can trigger some paranoia, right? And if I'm not truly haven't let it go, it still owns me in some sort of way, right? And getting down to understanding and letting go and all that stuff and learning how to appreciate the process, right? But getting back to that whole thought of, learning to do the work and starting to let go, you start opening space up where you can start truly appreciating things, right? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of energy and a lot of attention that gets spent on the daily bullshit of all the stuff we carry around, right? When you're carrying shit around, man, it just takes so much effort. It takes so much energy to think and trip about the same old shit, right? The who did what and why did they do this, and replaying events and traumas and just kind of being stuck there, right? Like frozen in time in a sense. And when we start working on that and we start letting that stuff go and like truly letting it go, we make space for other things, right? And when we start making space for other things, usually what I call it the Indiana Jones effect. When he switches the crystal ball or whatever the hell it was, the skull crystal with the little baggie or whatever the hell no, I don't mean drug baggie, dude. Chill, right? When he switches it out, and then all of a sudden the boulder rolls. Like you gotta switch out one for another. And I know that's such, like, when I hear that and when I say that, I'm just like, oh, what? What are you talking about? All right. Because then my thought goes like, well, what about Suboxone? What about this? What about, it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying is there's always an exchange, right? And I learned this in recovery. In a perfect world, you'd want to just say, I can do it cold turkey and I'm a boss and I'm a motherfucking savage. Man, this is the real fucking world where addicts come from the fucking dirt and the darkness, and all of a sudden we're faced with these monumental things that we've never really faced on our own. And all of a sudden I just was expecting this fucking weird thing for myself to have this inner strength all of a sudden to be able to like go cold turkey on pretty much everything and all behaviors. That's not how it works, right? So I learned with spiritual principles, when I would let feelings go or let events go, I'd have to use spiritual principles to take the place of that absent energy. So the energy of all the things that I let go, something has to replace it to help it not to come back and take root again, right? So these things that we talk about, right? The Indiana Jones effect is very important, that if you're going to clear, that you have something in place that'll keep it clean, right? So you clear, you start doing this inner work, and all of a sudden, right? It's like, okay, now I got it out. Now, what do I have to put in its place? Well, let's try these things called spiritual principles. Things like gratitude, appreciation, love, respect, right? I didn't respect shit when I was out there. And let's be fucking honest, right? And, I'm so glad I got what I didn't deserve. Because if I would have got what I did deserve, I'd be in a much different place. I might not even be here, right? I might be in a jail cell, or maybe even underground, all right, dead. So the reality was, like, I'm so glad that I got what I didn't deserve. And coming into this life now, and learning about myself and what happened, and and learning these little tricks of the trade that we learn in spirituality, and we forever grow, right? It's like a forever kind of deal. It's not just like, oh, you did it once and blah blah blah. No, it's you got to fucking work, guys. If you're listening to this part right now, and all of a sudden you're in early recovery, or you're maybe you could be in late recovery, it takes fucking work, right? There's not no magic cure. There's none of that. That doesn't exist, right? What exists is coming in this whole new world and fucking putting in the work, right? Nothing gets done without intense fucking work. And I don't mean intense like it's going to be hard. I'm just saying you're going to face some fucking shit that's going to make you want to quit. But you can't quit. Keep fucking going. Because it's the most important thing you need to do for yourself. If you're clean and sober today, get another fucking day under your belt just for today. Get it done. And then tomorrow, you worry about tomorrow. When your eyes fucking open up, you do it again. Daily reprieves. You wake up, do your routine, you do your meditations, your prayers, and you get after it. Call your sponsor. Do what you gotta do, right? And all of a sudden, we start falling in this world where we start cultivating this thing we call appreciation. Start looking around you, and you have something worth appreciating. Because before, I had such a fucking shitty life, right? And sorry if I got worked up right there, but I had such a fucking shitty life. Everything around me, I just turned to shit, and it was my outlook. And it didn't even matter if it was beautiful or not. The way I seen it, it was covered in shit, because that's what my brain and my vision was covered in. Just muck, right? So it didn't matter what came in. It could have been diamonds on the table, and for me, I would have crushed it up and snorted it, because there was nothing more valuable and more important than my addiction at those times. And all the shit that I was trying to run from, I never wanted to face. And there came a point of reckoning where I had to shift gears and really face myself. And it took a fucking village. It took people, support. It took a lot of stuff happening in my life that was way more divine than I could ever cooked up. So please, guys, if you're struggling, and this week we're gonna work on some appreciation. How are we gonna cultivate that form of gratitude within ourselves that isn't outside, influence, that you can kind of cultivate it in yourself, right? Guys, it's so important. Stay sober. Above all, stay sober. You'll start looking at life in a grateful kind of way. So this week, appreciation. Let's tap into some appreciation energy, and let's love one another. Let's love ourselves. Let's walk on this journey of recovery with each other. Help somebody out. There's no greater act of service and appreciation to your fellow man, right? In service. So please, there's no better act of appreciation as with service. So I love you guys. Appreciation this week. And let's kill this week, guys. Or let's live this week. Let's not kill it. We've been murderous for too long, guys. So let's live this week. Let's live it in appreciation. And you'll hear me again next week, guys. I love you. This is Frank, F.D. Recovery. We out. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to FD Recovery. A reminder, be kind to yourself on this journey of recovery. Also, call your sponsor. Get connected to local support groups. And for one day at a time, stay clean and sober.